Welcome to Turn 1, a Formula One podcast.
Welcome to the special edition Turn 1 2023 predictions episode.
All right.
We're your hosts, Thomas
And Jeremiah.
This is a special release, obviously different than our normal, regularly planned release dates, but we had to get in our 2023 predictions before the first race.
Yeah, absolutely. We needed to make sure before this first race comes out and we have the data from there that we get our predictions in so that we can be as wrong as everybody else is.
Stay tuned for our second prediction show where we completely reverse on everything we say here. Maybe my Zhou Guan Yu in the number one spot will be different next week. It's always Zhou Guan Yu.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. We are going to do this in 4 segments, actually, but we are just going to run straight bottom to top through our predictions. We're going to go 20 to 11 each, and then top 10 each from 10 to 1. And then we're going to maybe defend or justify our predictions a little bit. Now, we did full driver profile, so we're not going to go into the whole thing. And there's not too many crazy moves here. But then we'll get into where we think the constructors finish as well, and there's going to be some talking points after that.
Cool.
Okay, Jeremiah, kick us off. Give me your 20 to 11 for the 2023 Drivers' World Championship.
All right, so for number 20, we've got the rookie, Nick DeVries. And I'm sorry, but we'll get into that. Number 19, I'm also putting another rookie, Logan Sargent.
Okay.
Number 18, Yuki Tsunoda. 17, I'm going to go with Zhou Guan Yu.
Okay.
16, Alex Albon.
Okay.
15, Nico Hülkenberg. 14, Oscar Piastri. 13, Kevin Magnussen. 12, Valtteri Bottas. 11, Lando Norris.
Okay, I have so much to say.
Let's hear it.
Well, let me give you mine. Okay, 20 to 11, 2023 drivers standings. Number 20, Logan Sargent. Number 19, Zhou Guan Yu. Number 18, Nico Hülkenberg.
Right on.
Number 17, Alex Albon. Number 16, Yuki Tsunoda. Number 15, Kevin Magnussen. Number 14, Nick DeVries. Big difference from yours.
Wow.
Number 13, Oscar Piastri. Number 12, Lance Stroll. And number 11, Fernando Alonso.
Number 11, that's fine. Whatever. You can be wrong. That's
okay. Do you want to discuss top 10 or bottom 10 here? Or do you want to go into the top 10?
Let's go ahead and discuss now just because we're running off a lot of names and it can get confusing.
Okay, so you put who? You put Nick DeVries at 20.
Listen.
Hang on. I'm calling you out. Literally, when we talked about, I think it was in a hot take segment, I said which rookie finishes the highest, and you said Nick DeVries.
I did. Then I found out about the AlphaTauri, and I'm not impressed.
You can't go from them being the highest rookie to now 20th on the grid.
I know. Here's my thing. Nick DeVries, in terms of skill, I'm going to say has the jump on Oscar like we said in the past. And by the end of the year, maybe those two are evening out in terms of skill. Now you got to factor in the cars. That AlphaTauri was unimpressive last year.
I've got to ask, how is Logan Sargent ahead of him? Is it just the unknown aspect of it?
It's a matter of the Williams versus the AlphaTauri. I liked what I saw from the Williams in the testing for this year, for the preseason testing. And in terms of, like I said, the AlphaTauri, I wasn't that impressed. So because of that reason, I'm going to have to put Logan Sargent above Nick DeVries. However, you're talking about the difference between 20th and 19th.
I know, but it's controversial to start.
Look, if it wasn't controversial, it wouldn't be money, baby.
So you had in 20 DeVries, 19 Sargent. I go Sargent 20, Zhou Guan Yu 19. you probably don't have too much of an argument with that, but you put Zhou at 16?
17.
17. Why the jump?
I think that he did a lot of figuring out last year. I'm not going to lie.
Upside down, riding into a wall?
No. Minus Silverstone. Minus the Silverstone turn 1 incident. I'm talking about, I saw a lot of improvement during the end of the year, and there's been a lot of talks about Zhou Guanyu getting better and better and better. And with his mentor being Valtteri Bottas, granted Valtteri Bottas isn't a multi-time national or world champion, and he hasn't won it once, but he is really well versed in terms of his knowledge in racecraft. I mean, we heard whenever they were talking last year when Valtteri came on the comms and he was like, Latifi is weak on turn 17 or whatever it was. Tell Zhou to attack there. You don't think that Zhou's learning from that?
He is, but I don't see it.
Also,
Again, we're talking back of the pack positions, but 16 is a huge jump from 20.
Also, the Alfa Romeo. I was more pleased with the Alfa Romeo than I was the AlphaTauri. And not necessarily more pleased than the Williams.
Because it looks cooler?
No.
Therefore, it's faster.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
Okay. This is the first time that we're hearing each other's lists. We have them pulled up on our screen, so I'm going back and forth between my list and your list. There's a couple that are, all of these are in the ballpark. I don't think we're throwing out anything crazy.
I'm surprised you didn't have anything to say about me putting Lando 11th.
Well, I'm working my way up.
Okay, go for it.
Bear with me. I put Hulkenberg at 18. You have him at 15. I don't think he's doing anything in that Haas worthwhile.
I think that during the testing, he was really able to get back in contact with the car and with his driving skills. That driving instinct, I guess you could call it, that doesn't go away. It's just a matter of how finely tuned your skills are. So that instinct popped right back into place. He started getting better on the braking as the testing went along, and he was already going max throttle around turns that require max throttle. So,
but the Haas is second to last in time gained.
Yes.
Is that just because they dropped Schumacher and add a guy that knows how to drive a car and not put it into a wall?
I think that Haas is going to have a big come up this year. I really do. I'm not going to say that they're going to finish like 9th in the constructors. I'm not 9th, like 5th in the constructors. Right. But what I'm saying
they could finish 9th in the constructors.
I'm going to say like 7th or 6th.
Okay,
maybe 7th.
And we'll cover constructors here in a minute. So you go Piastri at 14. I go him at 13. I think we're both in the ballpark there. He'll get some points, but he's not going to be competing.
No, probably not in the first year.
Needs probably another year or two, unless he comes out flying like Verstappen does. But to do that, you have to have the car, and I don't know if he has the car.
Right.
What else sticks out to you on these lists? I've got K-Mag at 15. You've got K-Mag at 13. Again, same ballpark.
Who do you have above K-Mag? In the 14 and 13.
So right above K-Mag, I have De Vries at 14, Piastri at 13.
You've got De Vries at 14 in the Alfa Romeo, or the AlphaTauri?
Yeah.
How do you figure?
Because he gets points in a Williams last year. When no one got points in a Williams last year.
Sure.
He's been doing this for forever.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't think he will ever be a competitor, but I think he's going to be a solid midfield driver.
So let me ask you this. Nicholas Latifi isn't in Williams last year, and instead it's Nick De Vries all season long. Where does Nick De Vries match up in terms of Alex Albon?
I think he gets 14th.
In the Williams last year?
I think he's better than Alex Albon.
Wow, so when did we switch roles? Because you used to,
I said Alex Albon didn't get a fair shake at Red Bull. I think, just like Pierre Gasly, I think they were both kind of rushed in at weird times for Red Bull when they were trying to find their second driver to push Max and themselves up to the Constructors Championship. And they ran them in and ran them out too quickly. And not to say that derailed Alex Albon's career yet, but now he's just, puddling around at Williams.
So you're telling me you take Nick De Vries and put him in that Red Bull in the same year that Alex had it, and he does better?
Yeah. Now, the thing here is we're talking 3 to 4 years difference. I don't know about that. That's a lot of difference. Alex got over 100 points in the first seasons at Red Bull. He got less, I think, in the second season. Could be wrong. But I think given the 3 or 4 year gap, that's tough to say. But I do think right now you put Nick De Vries on the track, he's a better driver than Alex Albon. Okay, let's round out this top 11. I go Alonso at 11, Stroll at 12. You go Lando Norris at 11, Valtteri Bottas at 12. When did we switch on Norris? What is this? I'm the Norris disliker of the group.
We'll get into this more as we cover the constructors. But it all comes down to testing, man. I didn't like what I saw from McLaren. I really didn't.
Is that just a gut thing?
It's not necessarily. They looked like they were dramatically off the pace as I was watching. They looked like they had multiple different problems. And they even talked about, I mean, I don't want to get too much into this because I have stuff for the constructors. That's my problem. I think we should park this.
Okay.
Just understand it's controversial for us because typically I have Lando in my top like 7 and you have Lando and you're barely making 10th.
Just notice that you have Lando 11, Bottas 12. I have not mentioned either one yet. So our lists are wildly different.
That's fine.
Okay, let's do top 10. I'll go mine first,
Go for it.
and then you go yours. Starting at 10, working our way up. Number 10, Pierre Gasly. Number 9, Valtteri Bottas. Number 8, Lando Norris. 7, Esteban Ocon. Thought that was a wild card. Number 6, Sir Lewis Hamilton. 5, Sergio Perez. 4, George Russell. 3, Carlos Sainz. 2, Charles Leclerc. 1, Max Verstappen.
I'm getting the sense that I had a lot more fun with this list than you did.
I had a lot of fun. Are you kidding me?
No, I mean like in how wrong I'm gonna be.
Oh no! All right, we'll go 10 to 1.
Right. I'll start. Let's go. I'll start at 10. Coming in at number 10, I've got Lance Stroll.
You have changed, my friend.
We'll get into it. We'll
in the
get
6
into
episodes we have done in this podcast, you have done a complete 180.
We'll get into it.
Okay, so start back over. Do you do it? I'm mentally struggling right now.
All right, number 10, I've got Lance Stroll, Aston Martin. Number 9, Pierre Gasly. Number 8, that's where I've got Esteban Ocon.
Okay.
Number 7, Fernando Alonso.
Okay.
Number 6, Mr. George Russell. Number 5, Sir Lewis Hamilton. Number 4, Sergio Perez.
Okay.
Number 3, Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
Number 2, Carlos Sainz.
Okay.
And number 1, your reigning champion, defending champion, Max Verstappen.
All right. This is a lot to unpack. Okay.
Where do you want to start?
Here's where I want to start. You have Lance Stroll in the top 10, and I'm going to call you out on a couple things. I'm going to call you out on your crap with putting Nick DeVries last. Already got that addressed. Then you come out here in the past couple episodes and you say, we don't like pay drivers. Lance Stroll shouldn't be on the grid. Now you've got him as a top 10 driver on the grid. You also say in episode 1, Hot Takes, Lewis Hamilton is taking home his 8th championship.
I did.
And now he's in 5th place. The only thing that I find of moderate interest of yours is putting Carlos Sainz at 2nd.
Okay. All right. So let me defend myself a little bit. Lance Stroll has like 6 or 7 years of Formula One experience at this point. Even if he was a paid driver, he's figured something out.
It's the principle of the thing.
And the car that he's driving, Aston Martin. We'll talk about that in the constructors, but I've also liked what I've seen from them. Hence why after Lance Stroll, it goes into Alpine with Pierre Gasly, then Esteban Ocon. I think that's fair. I think Esteban Ocon is going to be ahead of Pierre Gasly. We understand this. But I have the Alpines splitting the Aston Martins with Fernando Alonso next, coming in 7th.
I'm doing the math, and again, we don't know where the points totals are. You have Aston Martin competing for the 4 spot. I don't know if you put that together.
I did. We will talk about that in the constructors, but I know what I'm doing.
Okay. So flipping over to my list, I go Gasly 10, Bottas 9, Norris 8. I've got Norris and Bottas stacked 3 to 4 spots higher than you did.
Tell me how Bottas finishes 9th. I gotta hear this.
Because he did last year.
With the new drivers coming in, with the Alfa Romeo car.
I don't think the new drivers play any role. I think they are all below him, which therefore doesn't affect him. And I don't think anybody moves up ahead of him. I think the field stays as is above him. The only kind of move that I have is Ocon jumping up to 7 from 8, Norris falling back from 7 to 8. It just kind of flip-flopping some people in there, but I think it kind of holds where it was.
Here's my problem. You've got the Alfa Romeo Bottas finishing below the Alpine Gasly. You also have him finishing above Fernando Alonso?
Yeah, because I don't think the Aston Martin is any good. And I know we have the testing results and they gain the second most time and all that. I don't think it's a good team yet. And as you know, I love Aston Martin. I don't think they're good.
You know what? Let's wrap this up because I want to get into constructors. I've been itching. We keep hinting at it, and that's all I want to talk about. So let's wrap this up because I know you have questions on Carlos over Charles.
Yeah, I do, because that's what I was going to get to. I don't really have a concern with it. We talked about this a while ago where we thought Carlos was now starting to equal Charles, and we know that he's a little bit combative with the team strategy. So I don't have a problem with you putting him at 2. That is a more riskier pick, but I think Charles is still just a little bit
Let me put it to you this way.
better.
I think the ceiling for Charles is higher than Carlos. So if
Yeah.
we're talking about career-wise, at the end of the day, Charles is going to finish with a better career than Carlos. However, I think right now Charles is just not there. I think that Carlos, it's his time. Now, granted, he might not be fighting for the number 1 spot. He might be, but I feel like he's going to put up a better fight than Charles this year. I just feel like Carlos has really honed it in. I feel like he's just figured it out at the Ferrari out at the end of last year. So now he's taking all of his race instincts from all of the past years, from all of the past teams, from all of the past drivers that he raced with and learned from, and he's going to put it all together in this Ferrari package this year.
Yeah, I don't have too much to argue with. I think it could happen. But either way, we both have the Ferraris going 2-3, which sets up our next conversation. Let's do constructors. Let's go straight 10-1.
All right.
What's your list?
Coming in at the bottom spot, I've got AlphaTauri. Still not impressed. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we've got Williams. I like what they did. I don't know if it's enough to make a giant leap into the pack, but I think that they don't finish dead last. Coming in at number 8, I've got Alfa Romeo. I feel like that's fair. Here's the thing. Number 7, I've got Haas. I feel like my number 7 and my number 8 are kind of interchangeable.
Yep.
I feel like Alfa Romeo could easily take 7th. I feel like Haas could easily take 8th and vice versa.
6-8 for me was really tough.
Yeah, pretty much. Coming in at number 6, I've got McLaren dropping from the 4th spot last year all the way down to 6th. Like I said, not excited about them this year. I just felt like they were slow on track. I felt like they didn't show much. And, you know, they even talked about they were talking to Zach Brown about what they thought about the car, and he said, man, we just didn't hit our marks. We had specific predictions for what we thought the car was going to be capable of, and they didn't hit their mark. What does that tell you? It tells me that they don't know their car.
I agree. Continue.
And you're going to put a rookie in there?
Yeah.
I see them finishing 6th. I said what I said. Coming in at number 5, I've got Alpine. I think that's fair. You can put them at my number 4 is Aston Martin. And I know that might be controversial, but I feel like the Alpine and Aston Martin, once again, are interchangeable. I feel like Aston Martin could finish 5 and Alpine 4 and vice versa. But for now, I have them at 5 and Aston Martin at 4th. And the reason why is because I liked what I saw from that green Aston Martin.
I know.
And with Fernando Alonso leading the way, like we already talked about, didn't win as many championships as Sebastian Vettel, but with a different mindset than Sebastian Vettel. He's aggressive. He wants to chase for the championship, and he's happy with this team because he even said in the interview, he feels like they're putting together a winning team. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but these are things that take steps. These are things that take years to do. So if they go from the back of the pack to now finishing 4th, now they start fighting for titles in future years. I can see it happening. I really can.
I have so much to say. What's your top 3? I'm over here just internally losing my mind.
Number 3, I've got Mercedes. I said what I said. Not too much improvement. Improvement, but not too much improvement. Unless they're planning on bringing a special package and they were kind of hiding us, sandbagging, if you will, for the testing, and they're going to bring a different package for Bahrain. I don't think I see Mercedes getting much higher than 3rd. Number 2, I've got Ferrari. I feel like that's fair with Max charging ahead, and with Sergio. I don't know what we're going to see out of Sergio this year in terms of what they were able to put together for a car for him, but we know that he's a good driver. We know that he's a defensive driver. So if he can get grips with that car like he did at the beginning of last year when he won Monaco and had several 2nd and 3rd place finishes, I think that we see Ferrari at number 2. And of course,
Obviously.
number 1, Red Bull.
Okay. Boy. I'll give you my list, and then I will explain some things at the end, and then we can go back and forth on this.
Go for it.
Wow. There's so much. Okay. The 2023 constructors, my predictions are number 10, Williams, 9, Haas, 8, AlphaTauri,
Whatever.
7, Alfa Romeo, 6, Aston Martin,
Okay.
5, McLaren, 4, Alpine, 3, Mercedes, ready for the curveball, 2, Red Bull,
What?
1, Ferrari.
What?
Because we both had at 2 and 3 Charles and Carlos. And remember, on my list, I had Sergio in 5.
Oh.
And I don't think Max runs. I still think Max wins.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think he runs away with it as much as he did last year. And therefore, you have the 2 driver playing a big part of the points.
Yeah, and you don't think Sergio's going to make up the points?
No, I still think Sergio's great, but I don't think I think the Carlos and Charles and even George are gonna pass him in terms of skill level if they haven't already, and their cars are gonna be better. The strategy is gonna be better for Ferrari. A lot of things are gonna be figured out. You're talking about a 2021 situation where you have Max winning the thing, Ferrari taking the constructors.
Okay. I mean, I can see it.
Because yours could go the same way.
Right. I disagree. That's just because I feel like I have Sergio higher. Like I said, I have Sergio at
4.
I had the 4 spot.
Right.
And you somehow magically have George Russell managing to put that Mercedes ahead of Sergio more times than not.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I disagree with you, but I agree with what you said.
Right.
Okay, so let's unpack a little bit of this. I just want to talk about the midfield to start because this is where my head is exploding. I don't care about the teams at the bottom. You go Aston Martin at 4, and you miss an opportunity to call me out on something. What did I say McLaren would be doing this year?
I mean, you said you had McLaren at 5, right?
I did, but in previous episodes, I said they'd be fighting it out at the bottom with the AlphaTauris and Williams
you did.
of the world.
That's right. Hey, explain yourself.
It's my turn to be put on the stand. I was looking at it, and every time we sit down and actually look at these, I think you learn more than just perception or thought going into something. And McLaren, yeah, they're not what they could be, but they're still not that bad. You know, even bringing in Piastri, they're a solid 5-spot team.
Okay.
I still have Alpine finishing ahead of them. That does stay true. But I hold Aston Martin at 6. I don't think they're going up to 4, my friend. That's a big jump.
Look, if we didn't have controversy, would this show even be good?
No, but 4?
I do, man. Hear me out. Because we're going to go to war on this. I can feel it. Aston Martin, you said it yourself, had the second most improvement. They're with a team that is trying to win. That is their goal, regardless of how you feel. Take away how you feel.
I am. I'm taking away the whole Lance Stroll. Like, I'm looking at them as a
Lance
team.
Stroll. Take away how you feel about Lawrence Stroll.
I don't care about any of that. I'm looking at their car, their history. They have been a bottom midfield team.
What are they putting together this year? We're not talking about prior years. We're talking about this year. What did they put together? They're building a winning team. They've built a car with the second most improvement. They've added Fernando Alonso in a second prime with the mindset of a killer. And we've got Lance Stroll, who's every single year getting better and better, whether or not you like it or not. He is getting better. Now, he's not anywhere near the level of the top people. He's nowhere near Lewis, nowhere near Carlos, nowhere near any of those guys. None of them. Not even Pierre. None of them. However, you don't have that many years in F1 without getting a little bit of intel. And I feel like he's now at a point to where he's got enough knowledge to where he can put together fast laps. He can string them together. He's got Fernando Alonso, who's going to be taking off, and we've got a car with all of that improvement. I like where I put him.
You're using guts. I love it. I'm going to use facts.
Boring. Last
year, Aston Martin finished in 7th behind Alfa Romeo. I did give them improvement, and I put them ahead of Alfa Romeo on my list. I just switched them. However, they finished 123 points shy of Alpine. I'm not going to fight you too much on McLaren. They still finished over 100. They finished 104 points behind McLaren. I think that is very possible that they go up to 5. I don't think it happens, but I think it's possible. But to gain that advantage on Alpine, Alpine has a superior car.
Alpine is slower than they were at the exact same time last year. They're the only team that got slower from their stats last year. Now, they could be sandbagging. There's been a lot of talks about that. There's been a lot of talks about how they could just be hiding because they didn't seem flustered. They didn't seem flustered when everything was going on. They seemed like they had something up their sleeve. So to that point, I could see your side. But what I'm saying is, if we're looking at facts, like you say, Alpine got slower. Aston Martin got way faster.
Way relative.
Way faster.
Okay, let's look at the bottom teams and then we'll finish off with the top teams. You go AlphaTauri, Williams, Alfa Romeo, Haas. I went Williams, Haas, AlphaTauri, Romeo. They're probably all interchangeable.
Pretty much. I mean, we're talking about not hundreds of points. We're not even talking about tens of points. We're talking about like maybe 3-point difference between them, 5-point difference.
All of ours are within 1 to 2 spots of each other. I have the kind of forever bottom team still at the bottom, Haas and Williams. You mix it up by throwing AlphaTauri down there, which they did have a really bad season last year, but they aren't used to being the worst team.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's a pattern that's here to stay or if last year was a fluke.
Right. So you have Haas dropping from 8th to 9th.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that.
Why?
Because they don't have a rookie who's going to be, not a rookie, but a second-year rookie with a car that wasn't producing, who's slamming it into a wall every other race.
It wasn't every other race.
Okay. He cost the team millions of dollars.
So I'll tell you why I put them there. And this probably isn't the best way. It's like I mentioned on the Lance Stroll discussion. It's a principle thing. I don't think they're making strides for improvement unless they're doing a complete rebuild, which even then I think you would start with 2 young drivers rather than going with 2 old drivers to do a rebuild. I don't think they're on their way up the right way. They need to follow the Houston Astro approach of building a farm system with a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds, and then whenever they're 24, 25, 26, they're killing it. Yeah. Not with 2 30-year-olds.
The problem is that they're young guns. They go to Ferrari. You got to remember, it goes Ferrari, then Alfa Romeo, then Haas.
They need more money from Gene.
Haas couldn't even get Charles, and he tested for them. He ended up going to Alfa Romeo.
It is a better team.
Thank you. So for you to
they have cool wheel covers.
Start developing their younger people.
They do.
No, that's what Ferrari's doing though, and it's so that they can have them, not so that Haas can have them.
I know it's tough, and like we said, these teams doesn't really matter. But I'm interested to see what happens. A lot of them have had moves on the team principal front. We'll see what that brings into it. Obviously, Williams gets rid of Yost and brings in James Vowles. I don't know what that does. I know Yost was very, not progressive. He was very, I want to win and I want to win now.
Right.
And so I don't know how that changes at Williams.
Right. You also have got Frederick Vassar going from Alfa Romeo to now being the top dog at Ferrari. We're going to see how that plays out.
Right.
I don't know.
Their team couldn't be run any worse.
Here's my problem. I don't know enough about Alfa Romeo in previous years to know what kind of effect he had on that team in the time he was there. And because of that, I don't know how far he's going to take Ferrari. What I do know is that he's worked his way up from team principal in F3 to team principal for a team in F2 to team principal for Alfa Romeo, and now he's at the top dog. That doesn't happen unless it's earned.
You're doing something.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk top 3. You go status quo. Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, right? I throw curveball, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes. Name your grievance, if you have one.
The only reason I don't have a grievance is because you said Max wins.
Right.
Fair.
I think Max wins. I think he's still dominant. I don't think he wins 15 races this year.
I don't think you give either you're not giving Sergio Perez enough credit, or you're giving George Russell way too much credit.
Why is George Russell playing to this?
Because
for just passing
because
Sergio?
You have him above Sergio.
I don't think that's unrealistic.
You don't think that's unrealistic?
Because last year Sergio finishes 3, George finishes 4. Sergio had 305 points. George has 275 points. That's a race and a half.
I guess. But
and we talked last year. George wins 1 race. If we talk like we were, where we think he wins maybe 3 races this year, there's your points.
That's fair. That's fair. If we're talking as George being the up-and-comer for Mercedes and officially taking that spot as you see it, remember, I have Lewis above George in the standings. But if we're taking
that. If you were going to go all the way, just put him at 1 and be completely wrong.
I don't want to look stupid.
You already said he's winning 8 this year.
I took it back, didn't I?
can't take back a hot take. They stay forever.
All right, you're right. We're switching it. I've got Lewis winning the whole thing.
He's changing them up. We're gonna have it on the screen. Just goes to the top. No, I look. Red Bull could run away with the whole thing. I'm not saying Sergio falls off skill wise. It's I think George, Carlos, and Charles take a step up and steal points from Max. Max won 15 races last year, right? Or was it 16? One of those. I don't think he gets this many this year. I think it's either single digits or very low double digits.
Ooh.
But either, I mean, he's going to be in the top 3 of every race as long as he finishes. Sure. But I think that now you're going to have Charles, Carlos, and George stealing more points, therefore deducting from Red Bull's total.
I can see that because of the developments that Ferrari have taken. Now, granted, we haven't seen them on track in an actual race, so we don't know all of the facts yet. But there's no way they're bringing the exact same car as last year. There's just no way. And we know how hungry Charles is. We know how hungry Carlos is.
The car for Ferrari last year was unadaptable to their situation. If they figure that out and they figure the strategy thing out, they could win the whole thing. And I mean Charles or Carlos winning the whole thing along with the team. I said that last year that they could have done that if they would have figured it out.
I think that, okay, to your point, if Ferrari didn't have so many durability problems last year, and the main one I'm trying to get to is strategy here. That was my whole point of even having this. If Ferrari can provide a better strategy for Charles, because we know Carlos is going to do his own thing, regardless of what they say. Part. I mean, he's going to box? No. Straight up. Now, we know Carlos is going to make the right decisions. Charles is going to go with the team because he's young. He doesn't want to make executive decisions like that. He doesn't know that he's right. He has a strong gut feeling, and he always ultimately ends up being right, but he doesn't know. I don't think he has enough experience to know that he's right in terms of versus a team principal or a strategist for Ferrari. Like, how can he think that he knows better than them?
Right.
So to that point, I feel like if they give Charles a better strategy and Carlos does his thing, yes, they could take the top.
Boy. Okay. Either way, we both have Mercedes still at 3.
Yeah.
We don't see them making any huge strides.
I just didn't see enough in the testing.
When does Lewis hang it up?
When does his contract run out?
I don't think that matters.
That's true. I guess he could just take off whenever he wants.
He signed a 10-year deal and then just call it.
Right.
If he finishes 5, 6, 7 this year, is that enough? Is he like, I've had a good run?
I don't think so. I really don't. Because here's the thing. If he chooses, and Mercedes will let it happen, if he chooses, I think he waits until the rule change in 26 when everything gets stirred up again and we see where the teams go. Because when those rule changes happen, that's how Lewis got his dominance in the first place, because Mercedes nailed it. And for this point, Red Bull's pretty much nailed the specs for these past few years. I mean, they're the team to chase. They're the team that you want to try and beat. And right now they just have it. Even in testing, they were all smiles, giddy. We don't really care what's going on because we're just faster than everybody else. So to that point, I don't know, but I will say I think that he waits it out until at least 2026 and tries to see what Mercedes will bring for the rule change.
Interesting. Either way, we both kind of see him finishing in the middle of the top 10. I don't think that's disrespectful at all. That's where he was last year. You have him over George. I don't. I have George over him, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're all in the same ballpark. I think the biggest curveballs here were us flipping Red Bull and Ferrari, which aren't necessarily controversial. They're just, how does the second driver play into the mix and what points are stolen from Max? And then the midfield teams of Alpine, McLaren, and Aston Martin.
I said what I said. I stand by it.
Okay. Do we have anything else to debate?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much wraps it up.
All right. Well, that is the special edition episode of Turn 1 with our 2023 predictions. We will be releasing our first race recap after the race this Sunday in Bahrain. And then we will be releasing another episode next week on Friday. But we thank y'all for watching. We ask for any likes, subscribes, follows, or comments on our social media platforms. But with that, we'll see you.
Bye, guys.